But now we
Mhm.
have scientifically backed evidence that shows how lifting heavy weights and doing any form of resistance training has psychological and physiological benefits to us. So I'll just go through some of it with you.
Mm.
But obviously, so when we go through menopause, because of the hormonal fluctuations and eventually the reduction of those sex hormones, estrogen, testosterone, and progesterone, they have physical effects on us. So they can affect your bones, so your bone density. You will have no doubt heard of osteoporosis. There's osteoporosis and osteopenia, which is just when the density of the bone starts to get less. So we're more likely to perhaps break bones. So by lifting heavy weights, there is evidence now that this actually increases the bone density, therefore reducing your risk of brittle bone disease, osteoporosis. By lifting heavy weights, you increase your muscle mass. Now, more and more people, especially you guys know this, obviously being the beefcakes that you are, that when you muscles work to maintain and improve our metabolic function. So when we build muscle, rather than our metabolism slowly declining with age, which, as you will also no doubt know, that once you go past the age of 40, in women, you lose about 1% of your muscle mass a year. Okay, so it's an accumulative decline of muscle, which in turn then reduces the efficiency of your metabolism and makes you more prone, obviously, because your muscles support your skeleton, aid in movement. That when we get older, you're more likely to fall over. And if you have a fall, that's probably one of the most common reasons people when they're elderly end up in hospital. Heavy lifting will increase your muscle mass, therefore make you stronger, less likely to fall, more balanced. Stroke, life.
Yes, we're all for that.
Brilliant.
What would you say to ladies that are potentially intimidated by lifting heavy weights? It's there's that very common question or statement, I don't want to get big and bulky,
Yeah,
which is that immediate association with lifting heavy weights.
well,
I'll put my hand up and say it's taken me a long time to get big and bulky lifting with the weights that I do. So yeah, certainly from my point of view, you'd have to put an awful lot into it. Plus, you need quite a lot of testosterone as well. So yeah, what would you say to ladies that are at the moment intimidated by coming in and lifting heavy?
well, what I would say to them is there's two options. I'd never been into a gym 2 years ago. I'd never done any weight
Wow.
training whatsoever. Through my previous journey to try and negate my menopausal symptoms, that involved cycling, swimming, running, kayaking, everything but weights, really, because I was always really super nervous about going into a big gym. Again, feeling like almost the female version of Mr. Muscle. I
Yeah.
thought, I'm never going to
Mm.
be able to lift heavy weights. But actually, that's an absolute out and out fallacy. I now lift very heavy weights, especially given my body weight. What I would say to them is you've got two options. You've either got to look into maybe working out at home, go and buy a kettlebell, go and get it off Facebook Marketplace, buy yourself some gym equipment, get a YouTube video up and do it at home. And you can lift until you feel confident enough to then maybe go into a gym. Or alternatively, do what I did is I joined a gym where they run small group coaching sessions. So there's only 6 of us and they actually target specifically women over 45, the gym I go to. So it's all ladies and we're all menopausal, so we can all whinge
Yeah.
our way through
Yeah.
our weight training session.
Yes.
And
But
so
there's
then you're
quite a nice, sorry, there's quite a nice community sense with that as well, isn't there?
yeah.
With those group training sessions. Certainly not alone.
And you don't start off heavy. Going back to lifting heavy, you start off lifting light until you know how to lift, and then
Mhm.
you very, very slowly would increase your weight load.
How quickly did you start to notice benefits from lifting heavy in the gym?
I would
And what
say
were
that,
those benefits?
well, mentally, I think so. Mentally, first of all, that was probably the first thing that I really, really noticed, probably more than any other sports that I've done, is definitely improved sense of well-being. And I probably noticed those benefits probably in about 3 to 4 weeks of starting to feel
Wow.
great. Because again, I've never seen a client yet that hasn't come into that gym miserable that doesn't leave looking happy.
Really?
And then you've got the physical benefits, which I would say is obviously a bit more of a slow grower because you don't rush what you're doing. You're going to increase your weight load gradually. And I would probably say sort of like 6 to 8 weeks, you're going to start feeling strong. You're going to start walking a bit taller. You're going to hold your posture a little bit better because of the benefits of the support that improved muscle tone has given you.
Amazing. What's with a lot of misinformation out there, and as we said, there's some incredible information. But there's always two sides to that, isn't there? When there's a lot of information, there can be some real.
Yeah.
What's one of the biggest myths about the menopause that winds you up?
That we're past it, that we're over it. We're over the hill. You're past your best. You've done your bit. You don't need to be here anymore. You're no longer any use to the planet. You've procreated. You've now stopped being fertile. Well, that's you done. Because actually, there's a great hypothesis that's being studied at the moment called the grandmother hypothesis, that even in years ago, hundreds and hundreds of years ago, there is a role for that elder woman within a community. Obviously, communities aren't what they are anymore, but there is a definite role for that matriarch figure. And so the body has to work accordingly to keep that figure alive within that community. That's how we live, we develop to ensure survival of the fittest. And so that myth really used to really piss me off. And so I think that, because you're not actually, it's the absolute opposite. When you look at it sensibly, once you get through to where I am, for example, postmenopausal, you realise actually you've got less responsibilities. Your confidence will come banging back because really you don't care anymore. What does it matter if I don't do this or don't do the ironing or I haven't done the housework? Because actually I've realised now I'm in my 50s, there's not any real repercussion to that. So actually you start to enjoy the bits that you should be enjoying.
For sure. Now you're living your best life. Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, go for it.
So Tracey, if I was to ask tell my wife some good news today, I say, look, I've got this great lady. Tracey's been talking to us about obviously the perimenopause, the menopause. Very much so the person who would believe that going for a run, getting on a treadmill is the answer to all her problems. But you would definitively say, get into that gym or get those living room weights, and start working out and doing a 20 minutes, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the sort of key here? How do I make this absolutely key to her that this is doable?
So what she needs to understand is that endurance exercise such as running, cycling, swimming is like the soul food of exercise that we use to take our mind off things. It will always be beneficial to you. It will bring great physical benefits to both your body and your mind, but there is bigger science that you'll get a better physical improvement by lifting heavy weights. That's the bottom line of it. So you will gain more physiological changes from lifting heavy weights and resistance training. That is the current science behind it. She needs to, she will benefit from what she's doing, changes.
Just for clarity, and I know this is a bit off the wall, how long's a piece of string? Definition of a heavy weight. I mean, something you can do 10 to 15 reps or...
So, she's just got to work her way up gradually. It took me probably, when I started weight training, again, like I said, having never done it, I remember doing a weighted squat, barbell squat, and I had 30 kilos on. And I was like, I can't, it had the big round weights. I can't do this. And I was thinking, oh my goodness. Like fast forward 12 months and now I do 100 kilos, so I'm only 53 kilogram woman. It's heavy. It's nearly twice my body weight. Yeah. I would say from a symptomatic, it's very tricky, Christian, because I'm postmenopausal, so my symptoms are already diminished because my hormones aren't fluctuating as much as they would have been in my late 50s, very early 50s. Now I'm 56. My symptoms are literally hot flushes, brain fog. That's the one that's a bit tricky. But again, even weight strength training again will increase the formation of new neurons in your brain. So there's just no, it's just a no-brainer. It is such a win for her to do.
Because again, it's that stigma, as I think Tom was alluding to earlier, about this bulky body will suddenly appear out of nowhere. And I've been doing this for decades, and definitely, as Tom pointed out, been doing it decades, clean, no drugs or anything like that, and you don't just grow overnight.
Right.
You see very quick changes in body types quickly, and then it slows down very quickly.
Yes, sorry, and that's what I was going to say. So obviously there's different body shapes, don't forget. So my body shape will not change. I could lift the heaviest weights repeatedly. I am never going to become your size.
No.
I and as we've got a hashtag at our gym, and it's strong, not skinny. And so I'm never going to become a big, intensely heavy built set woman, because my natural body shape is very slim. Pear-shaped women are suddenly not going to change into my body shape. You are your body shape. You are just going to improve your muscle mass. Remember, again, because we need it to keep us safe when we're older. So you won't be suddenly to turn into this masculine looking woman unless you trained very, very, very intensively. And that's not what we're advocating here.
No, totally.
Caffeine.
We talked about communication in the household and with partners. Is there anything else that as partners, husbands, boyfriends, anything else? Is there anything that we can do to help support without just trying to fix everything?
I think that you nailed it earlier, and that you just need to be educated about it. It doesn't need to be complicated. It's actually making sure that your partner has an clear understanding of what the physical and mental side effects of this change in our lives is all about. Now, some women breeze through it and aren't very symptomatic, and great, and that's really lovely. And some people have it really badly. We're all very different. There's no set agenda, and I think that's very important that men understand that. Just because their friend's wife isn't having any issue doesn't mean that yours is not going to too.
Yeah.
We're all very different. So it's educating your partner, even down to the whole sex side of things. Obviously, as women, when we go through perimenopause and then menopause, it can affect your sex drive. It can give you vaginal dryness, which again is going to in turn affect your relationship. It can cause big issues in relationships. From the get-go explain, like, this can happen. I don't want it to happen. I want to be a wild stud muffin still, but hey, my hormones aren't working anymore. So let's have a chat about what we can do about this and work together to get round it.
But no, amazing. I think you've got some more points to raise, Tom, haven't you? You've got some quick fire questions.
Yeah, let's go through these, Tracey. So don't think too much about it. One thing every woman over 40 should stop apologising for:
how they feel.
Yes.
Okay.
Very good. One exercise every woman should be doing:
resistance training.
Yes. I like the fact that you've managed to get them all into resistance training there. Well done, thank you. Something you'd tell your younger self:
that if I'd have known that if I'd invested in myself more in my 20s and 30s, it shows up in your 30s and 40s and so on. So right now, in my 50s, I'm investing in myself as to how I'm going to be when I show up as a 70-year-old.
Yeah, that's really valuable. And then if you can finish this sentence: strong women are
healthy and confident women.
Beautiful. Love it. Tracey, thank you so much. If anybody wanted to pick your brains, are you happy for a message over to your Instagram?
Yes, absolutely.
Wonderful. I will share your details then. Thank you. It's been an education. It's been great talking to you. Thank you ever so much.
Thank you, boys.
Cheers. Take care.